punch ya, headbutt ya. You say you can't touch this, said I wouldn't touch ya. In fact, motherfucker, here to let you know, boy, oh boy, I make dope, but don't call me dope.
Another big question that I always get is about the 2 eyes versus the 4 eyes. Okay, the Marq and also now the Vice and the Protege also can come with this. The biggest difference between the 2 eyes and the 4 eyes, the extra set of eyes basically pre-charge the solenoid to make your gun shoot faster. Okay, so that takes a little bit of time from the ball to get from here to here. So when it goes through the top set of eyes, the board pre-charges the solenoid, so when it drops back in, that solenoid's ready to go. That's the difference between the 4 eyes and the 2 eyes. Now, in semi-auto, I would say go with 4 eyes. In semi-auto, you're trying to get every single shot that you possibly can. You can't rely on ramping. So if you're playing in semi-auto tournaments, like NPPL and stuff like that, I would highly recommend get the 4 eyes, get the Tadao board. If you're playing in just the PSP tournaments, the stock 2 eyes with the stock Frenzy board works just fine. That's what I personally use. But when I go and I play in the NPPL setting or semi-auto setting, I go to 4 eyes with the Tadao board. So that's the biggest difference between the two. Semi-auto, Tadao board with the 4 eyes, PSP, 2 eyes with the Frenzy board is what I personally recommend. Now, one of the things that I love about the Marq series guns is the feed neck. You guys know that I'm a feed neck fanatic, okay? If your gun has a junk feed neck or comes stock with a junk feed neck, you can't get the loader on there. If you can't get the loader on there, you can't shoot paintball, so your gun's a boat anchor. So this is what I mean by having one of the best feed necks. The Marq feed necks allow your loader to sit basically about 1.5 millimeters above the bolt. I mean, it basically is sitting on the bolt. Okay, there's a very tiny little flange. It's like super thin piece of aluminum that is sitting just above the bolt, and that's what the loader is sitting on. The Marqs have, in my opinion, one of the best feed necks in the industry. Actually, I'll just say, they have the best feed neck in the industry. Now, what's really cool about this is that you can arrange the Marq in 2 different orientations depending on how you play. If you play in the snake or general all-around player, this is a good feed neck. If you're strictly a Dorito player, I highly recommend getting the new feed neck. I'll call it the Russian Legion feed neck because that's who they made it for. You get your Russian Legion feed neck, it comes with this little collar, you stick down in there, and then you put this on here. It's got a little indexing line. Okay, there we go. So that's on there. And then put it on here. Now, why would you want a taller feed neck? The biggest reason is because when you're in like a Dorito, especially with some of those tilted bunkers, having a taller, having your loader sit up higher allows you to tilt it in a little bit more. So as you see, as I'm looking at you, as you tilt it in, having it taller allows it to swing over even further than if it was sitting lower. If it was sitting lower, you would still see it. So that's the reason why, if you're playing Doritos a lot, get this feed neck. If you are just a general all-around player, the regular feed neck works fine. But if you're strictly a Dorito side player, like my boy Ryan Riffey, he only plays Dorito, he never plays Snake, that taller feed neck works out really, really well. Okay, now that we've talked about all the different ones, we showed you the pictures of the Mark 6, the Mark 7, the Eds, the Rapper Limited Edition, the Russian Legion, the Close of the Dark, and we talked about the pillow bolt and the LPR notch, the different barrels and the different eyes and the different boards. Now we're going to do is take the gun out, let's do the efficiency test on it, and then bring it back and do a conclusion. I've already showed you guys how to tear this gun apart. Check out some other videos. I've already shown you how to tear this gun completely apart. So reference those videos. Let's go do the efficiency test and come back in. It's Mike with TechPB, and we're about to do the efficiency test on the Mark 6. And we're here with Jim Anderson, the field manager of Cone Sports. And I'm going to show you guys what we're going to do here with the test. The first thing we're going to do is show you the tank temperature. The next thing we're going to do is take a temperature reading of the tank, and then we're going to set the camera down, load up our first pod, shoot a couple over the chronographs to show you a chronograph reading, and then we're going to start shooting until the gun runs out of air. Now, we have 12 pods here set up, ready to go. If we shoot all 12 pods, what we will do is we will pause the test, fill up a couple more pods, and then keep going. And since the Mark is my favorite gun, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. If the gun breaks a ball during this test, I will eat paint. So that's the bet that I've got right now. It's overboard, just how I like it, 694 barrel. My Marq is my favorite gun, so I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And if this breaks a ball, if it chops a ball or barrel breaks, I will eat China ball Nan Hai paint. So let's go ahead and show you the gauge and show you the parameters that we're working with here. Okay, hopefully you can see we are actually sitting a little bit higher. We're sitting actually right at about 40, probably just under 4,200 psi. Looks like right around about 4,150, maybe just under 4,200 psi is about where we're sitting on the gauge. Let's take a laser reading. Okay, now hopefully you can see that. We are sitting at about 95, 97 degrees on the tank. So let's set the chronograph up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to load up our first pod. $297, 304, 305, 307, 301, 297, 308. Okay, so we're sitting just a hair over 300, so let's go ahead and set the camera up and start the test. Okay, we're going to set the camera up. And we got our first pod in there. Go ahead. Lower ones here. Catch it. All right. Let's see if it broke paint. All right. It looks like we had one barrel break. So as promised. God damn it.
SAR, you're dead.
It's Chinese. So it looks like we got, let's count some pods here. Okay. We got about halfway through that that last pod, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9.5 pods on the Marq, shooting at about 301, 302 feet per second. And let's see here, we had a tank temperature of about 97, filled up to just under 4,200 psi. And I need to go get something to drink because that was nasty. So.